So in your research now, um, you're dealing with somewhat about the layers of abstraction. So in this course, we talk about the layers of abstraction, and we think of them in kind of big chunks like digital design, computer organization, and then we break this up into microarchitecture, instruction set architecture. Now, within microarchitecture, there are layers of abstraction as well, right? So can you talk a little bit about those detailed layers of abstraction in microarchitecture?
Sure. So, I definitely agree with you that one of the best ways to understand computer systems is by thinking about these layers of abstraction. And beneath microarchitecture, once we have a microarchitecture at a high level, we might want to refine that down to, for example, the register transfer level. And at this level of design, now we're starting to talk about the actual bits. We're starting to talk about the state, how we move state between registers. And then we might refine it down to the detailed gate level. So we think more about the actual specific adder design and the specific memory structures. And then we'll refine it down to the circuit level. So there we're thinking more about specific logic styles, how we actually use the transistors. And once we get to the circuit level, then of course beneath that we have devices, and at the very bottom we have physics, technology, the electrons, silicon. And at least in my opinion, I think one of the beautiful opportunities and challenges with computer engineering is about these layers of abstraction. So on one hand, they're a tremendous asset. It allows us to focus on one layer of abstraction, and as long as we understand the interfaces to the layers above and below us, we can do really amazing things. And this is one reason we can build 10 billion transistor chips, and they work. And they're high performance and energy efficient. But on the other hand, abstractions create challenges, because I don't necessarily know what's beneath me in the details, and I might miss opportunities for improved performance or energy efficiency.
So if you're at this high level here, you need to understand the timing, for instance, right?
Exactly.
The implications of working at this level and the lower level timing and power and area and those types of things.
Exactly. So those are great examples. So at the microarchitectural level, I can really understand the cycle level behavior. So how many cycles does it take for an instruction to execute on a pipeline? How many cycles does it take for a memory request to access a cache? But there are other metrics which are as important. For example, like you said, area. So how much area does a specific design take? Or energy. How much work does it take to do a specific transaction? Or timing. What is the cycle time? It's hard to understand those at a very high level abstraction. The best way to understand those is by moving down the stack. And it's particularly exciting when we can find opportunities to create cross-layer optimization. And so that's a lot of what I look at in my research. So places where we can optimize across the stack, and that's exciting in and of itself, but what's even better is if we can create new abstractions, the abstractions for tomorrow, which will still enable the benefits without giving up too much of the opportunities.
So you're talking about actually changing the well-known, well-followed abstractions that we have today
That's
to
right.
something that's a little bit different.
Right, so as a quick aside, so I was a graduate student for a relatively long time. And in the middle of my graduate career, I actually had a crisis of heart and I think I was going to go be a molecular biologist. The field was really hampered almost by these abstractions. In the research community, there was an emphasis on, are you working above the instruction set architecture, or are you working below the instruction set architecture? But if you want to change the instruction set architecture, people would be a little bit apprehensive because industry was not willing to kind of allow like radical changes to the instruction set architecture. And I found that a little discouraging because I thought one of the most interesting things were when we break down the instruction set architecture, add new instructions. And yes, maybe industry doesn't adopt them, but I think it created really interesting opportunities for research. But this is right before maybe the transition to multi-core, the trend towards energy and power becoming absolutely dominating constraints. And within a year, around 2004, 2005, all of a sudden everybody was talking about this kind of cross-layer changes, changing the instruction set, radical new instruction sets. And the field all of a sudden became very exciting, very, very fast. And so that's right. So my research looks at, can we add new instructions and get good benefits? But we always are trying to be careful. We don't want to change it too much. Can we just add a couple new instructions and get a very, very big benefit? And what are the right abstractions to add? What are the right abstractions to introduce?
So you take this, what you call a vertically integrated approach. So
Right.
you're able to explore the instruction set, for instance, adding a couple new instructions that might potentially make our design faster. And then you have a methodology for seeing how that impact will be across all the different layers.
That's right. And so what's really challenging is, it's easy to say we'll change the instruction set, we'll add some new instructions. But how's your application, which is written at a high level, going to use those instructions? Well, I could do some research where I write all my programs in assembly. Like in the course, you do a lot of assembly programming. But if we want to look at really challenging applications, I'm not going to be able to do that with doing hand-coded assembly. That means we need a compiler, which takes a high-level language description and compiles it to assembly. Well, the standard compilers don't know about my new instructions. I just invented them. So does that mean I need to invent new compilers? Yeah. I mean, maybe not from scratch, and maybe we can take existing compilers and make small changes, which is what we try to do. And that's another reason why it can be quite challenging. And then you change the instruction set, and the question is like, well, why? And so then you have to work down the stack. You have to understand what are the implications of the microarchitecture, but also does this cause unforeseen consequences in the register transfer level, the gate level, the circuits, or are there kind of interesting unforeseen benefits from kind of changing this abstraction?